Welcome to this edition of Sound Off Extra here on the official YouTube channel for the Solomonster Sounds Off Wrestling Podcast, which you can download every Sunday afternoon on the Solomonster.com, Stitcher Radio, or in iTunes. This week, I had the great pleasure of conducting an interview with Maffew of Botchamania fame. Everybody who's a wrestling fan knows what Botchamania is. You've heard of it. You've watched the videos. If you're like me, you've laughed your ass off at it. It's more entertaining than most of the shit you'll see on television any given week, which is kind of sad, but that is the truth. And so I thought it would be interesting just to talk to Maffew, the guy behind the videos, what goes into the making of them, how far back it goes, how far back he goes as a fan, and just shoot the shit, talk pro wrestling, talk wrestling botches. And so that's what we did. It was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. So without any further ado, I give to you my conversation with Maffew, the Botchamania guy. Enjoy. Maffew, how are you today, sir?
I'm ill, Jason. Thanks for asking.
We can't have anything bad happen to you, because if these videos go away, you're going to have a lot of very upset people.
Fuck them.
Ah.
No, I mean, you're right, Jason. You're right. I have to get better for the good of my fans.
That's right. They're depending on you.
Yes, fuck them.
Now, I think everybody knows what Botchamania is. Yeah, it's pretty much the best and the worst of pro wrestling rolled up into 10 to 15 glorious minutes. That's the way I would describe it. I've wasted far too much of my life laughing my ass off watching it. I've heard you say you get comments from tons of wrestlers telling you they love your videos. Who are some of the bigger names you've heard from who dig your work?
Well, that's a very good summary of my videos, Jason. I appreciate that. The biggest wrestlers at the minute, off the top of my head, are the Insane Clown Posse.
Really?
They watch them. Yeah, really. When they're not making the best rap albums in the world, they listen and watch Botchamania, and I appreciate that. Pretty much all the companies I watch, from PWG to CZW to not Ring of Honor, who cares, watch them. Some of the big names, though, well,
I think
Paul Ziggler is the obvious one, because he did a promo in 2012 where, in his business feud with Randy Orton, he dubbed him Mr. Botchamania. It was like, oh, it was fantastic.
I think one of your videos also had a bumper at the beginning from Mick Foley. Is that right?
It certainly did. Foley, I got attacked by a dog a few years ago. That's a long, unfunny story that we'll just skip to the end. And Mick Foley sent me a video saying, hey, hope you get better. At least it wasn't your face. And even jokingly said, well, I don't know why you're doing this where no one was watching. Nobody filmed it, Maffew. I mean, I wasn't doing Hell in a Cell and Dark shows. I mean, come on. It's the nicest thing that someone could say when you're in hospital. It's like, oh, thanks, Mick Foley.
Now, do you ever get any flack from wrestlers who are less amused by what you do?
You'd think I would, right? But no. Wrestlers who don't care for Botchamania just don't talk about it, which is the best way if you don't like something.
Yeah.
I know Lance Storm and Chris Jericho have both been asked, oh, do you like Botchamania? And I think Lance Storm was like, I know what it is, but don't do it. And Chris Jericho's like, what's Botchamania? Yeah, when it comes to if wrestlers dislike it, they don't act upon it like most nerds do. They don't make a blog going, I'm The Rock and I hate Botchamania, and here's a blog talking about it for 12 minutes. Because wrestlers realise that if you don't like something, you just don't talk about it.
Right,
then
right.
People hear it. People get name dropped. So, like the Insane Clown Posse we were just talking about, so many people rant on them and talk about them, which then results in album sales. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they know what they're doing when they do that, because the more people who talk about you, the more attention you're going to get. And, it's kind of funny to me. I think the people who don't like it, they probably just don't get it, because if wrestling's supposed to be fun, and obviously the Botchamania videos are fun, you have to have a real stick, I think, up your ass not to get some kind of enjoyment out of it.
That's true, Jason. But some people like sticks up their ass.
That is true. That is true. And you know what? Those are people I really don't want to hang around. Now, to date, there have been what? I think, is it 244 videos now that you've done?
243, but yeah, 244 soon.
Wow. Now, what year did the first one go up? Because I know you actually didn't create the first few Botchamania videos. I think the first 3 were done by other people who you took over and started doing it, and then it just kind of took on a life of its own.
That's right. John Barber of Ring of Honor, Chikara, inverted commas, fame, claims that he made the first 3 with his friend. If he wants to claim ownership of them, that's absolutely fine. The first 3 Botchamanias aren't works of art. That's what I say when I look at them. And I was inspired by how bad Botchamania 3 was to make my own one. So if he wants to claim ownership of making something so bad that inspired me to make 240 other ones, then feel free. But yeah, basically I look at these videos and I'm like, wow, that's a really nice idea. There's a few that I know off the top of my head that I can use that haven't been already used. And it just kept on going on and on and on like that. Like a small snowball, it's like at the top of the mountain, going down the mountain, gathering more snow as it goes along, until all it's left is this giant snowball ring just devouring everything in its path.
Which is pretty much what the weather we've had here in New York the last few weeks, just so you know.
Oh, I love it, yeah. Every time I go to America, they're always like, oh, Maffew, we're really sorry about the weather we'll be having. I'm like, it's absolutely fine. Come to London for a week and you'll see why this doesn't affect me whatsoever.
Right. Now, do you have a favorite one of all the ones that you've worked on?
There's been a few that I've liked, personally. The one on YouTube is called I Swear to God I've Never Seen Botchamania. Through the brief time when it seemed to be the name that was the issue with Botchamania, so I used other names for Botchamania, the video title, and they stayed up. So I was like, all right. The one that covers TLC 2011, I want to say, 2012 actually. The one with Sheamus winning against John Cena. That one that was just a one video title, which had lots of GoldenEye references, lots of King of Fighters music. I thought worked really well as a video by itself. The Royal Rumble one I just made a few weeks ago, I actually really enjoyed. Just with things like Boo, Tista, Wade Barrett. Yeah, it's fun to edit when it's just one whole show was appalling. And also the one that contained just Victory Road, Jeff Hardy versus Sting. Because me and my friend watched that match live and realized as soon as it was finished, oh man, so many people are going to want to watch my videos now.
Yeah, it's funny, the Victory Road thing, you don't even have to really do any editing. You just kind of play the whole segment out and just leave it alone.
Yeah, because hilariously enough, that wasn't even the worst Botchamania contender match on the card, so yeah.
Well, that's
what a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, really. Well, that was TNA back then. Yeah, it's funny, I have to say, probably my favorite Botchamania ending, it's actually from one of your more recent videos. I think it was, it may have been Botchamania 242. The Rockers RoboCop sync that you had.
Yeah, I had that idea for a while, and I actually had it for about 3 months.
Oh my God.
So sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, might scribble a note down like RoboCop with the Rockers barbershop window. Then if I come back to it in a few months' time and it's still funny, then I'll edit it. Otherwise, it's just a mess.
I cannot stop laughing when I saw it. It was so well done, and I think that's what a lot of people probably love about your videos. Obviously, the botches are funny, but it's the level of detail that you put into them. You clearly work your ass off on these things. How much time do you spend generally working on each of your videos?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the compliment, Jason. I really appreciate that. That doesn't go unnoticed. Well, it depends on something like Royal Rumble. It'll be all right. It'll just be one show. It'll take maybe a day or two. Because I always give time to watch it after I've thought of an idea and have other people, my friends, watch it and go, do you like, does this work? Is this good? It's good that I have friends have a look at it because I don't want to rush something out like I used to and think, this is a good idea, and then people go, what the fuck is this?
Right.
No, I don't understand what this is. I'm like, oh, that's not the idea. If you're going to reference something, I think you should be able to enjoy the thing you're watching without getting the reference, and then enjoy it even more if you do get the reference, not making it exclusively that if you only get it if you've seen the reference. So it can take, the actual creation of it can take, like anything of a week or 2 weeks or even a month. Just not like make a bit like in one day and then come back to it in another week. So I never just sit down and like do it all in one go anymore because I'm busy with work and everything else. And the fact that there's wrestling on every day of the week now, it's like, okay, I'll watch that thing and add it to the big pile to add together. Stick them all together like the Power Rangers. What's in the Power Rangers? Megazord. There we go. Megazord. So you got PWG for the Tyrannosaurus Rex. You got WWE as the Pterodactyl, and so on and so forth. Until you got one giant video robot thing.
Now, how often do they go up? Is there a set schedule that you work with, or just pretty much on your whim? Whenever you feel you have an idea.
Right now, I'm aiming for at least one a month. Because it used to be great when I've had the spare time to do this, but because of there being so much wrestling nowadays, and me being so big, I work 55-hour weeks. Day a week, whatever. I'm basically just restricting it to when's good for me and when I've got a good video, but I'm not making it my priority as it used to be, because then all it ended up being was do work, come home, video edit, sleep, and then repeat. I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I'm not a huge fat person like people expect me to be, but at the same time, it's not going to be good for my health just to keep on doing this,
Now, I notice YouTube is not the biggest Botchamania fan. How many accounts on there have you gone through over the years?
Oh, too many. I think there was Maffew Botchamania, Maffew No Sells YouTube, Maffew Japanese Table, Maffew versus Capcom, Abdullah the Botcher, and And to my internal shame, which actually, I'll go through the story. There's an account still online on YouTube called Maffew Fucks Men, which I did was it was supposed to look like a troll account, because at the time I made it, troll accounts were occurring on YouTube and they were staying on. So I was like, oh, great. But then the name put off a lot of people, and that was the YouTube account that ended up being in a national printed magazine called Fighting Spirit magazine. It was there in all its glory. Check out YouTube, Maffew's channel at Maffew Fucks Men. I'm like, oh my God, no. But, very cringeworthy. But on the plus side, all the videos on that account are still up. So it did work. It's very much the survival instinct. If you see a bear, if you piss all over yourself, the bear doesn't want to come near you. Right. But you do end up smelling like piss, but at least you don't get eaten by bears.
Now, I want to ask you about the music in the Botchamania videos. Clearly, you're a fan of video games, clearly in video game music. I know you've attended MagFest here in the States before, which is a big music and gaming festival for people who don't know. Anybody that's seen a Botchamania video can see there's a big influence from the old 8-bit Nintendo games. How big into that stuff are you still, and how do you go about choosing which tracks to use in each of your videos?
First of all, Jason, I've done a variety of different podcasts lately because it's WrestleMania season and everything else like that. Jason, you're one of the only people that's actually Googled me and seen what I do with about MagFest and things like that. So much love to you, Jason. Really.
Thank you.
So what was I saying? So regards to the music in the videos, yeah, I still listen to that stuff like as a pleasurable thing. It's not like, best get some stuff for the videos. It's that, no, I want to listen to some chip tunes. Let me have a look and listen to Yo Noid, for example. Or Banjo-Tooie or Diddy Kong Race, anything like that. It's really just a thing I like listening to. Part of it due to nostalgia, retro goggles. If it's a game I've actually played as a youth, it's like, oh wow, it brings up all the emotions and stuff. Like at the end bit of Ratatouille where he serves the guy like the peasant food, but because he grew up eating it, it's like, oh, this is great. But in terms of games I haven't played, like because of Twitch plays Pokemon, I've been listening to some of the Pokemon soundtracks. Because I basically only played the first 2 generations of Pokemon, then gave up, and now obviously I'm an old man talking about Blastoise, whereas kids are like, what's a Blastoise? Right. Oh, the oldie Pokemon, right. So I've been listening to the Pokemon Pearl soundtrack because of the Cynthia theme, and some stuff like that. I mean, are you a fan of the music yourself, Jason? Or?
I am. It's funny. I'll stream music with an app. I have like an app, AOL Radio, on my phone, and they have a section for video game scores. And a lot of times I'll find myself listening to that because it just has a lot of kick-ass songs in there. Like, it's all instrumental stuff. And you'll get a lot of Final Fantasy stuff that ends up playing. And I've never played a Final Fantasy game a day in my life, but it's addicting to listen to.
I agree. Because I've only played, like, the PlayStation Final Fantasies. I haven't played 1 to 6, but still love the soundtrack.
Yeah, I think the music is great. You ever play the old WrestleFest arcade game from back in the day?
Yes, I certainly have.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about that, because I think to this day that's still my favorite game. It's
one of those games where me and a bunch of friends played it at a local retro event that was here a while ago, last year. And it was one of those things like, oh, yeah, WrestleFest, look how huge the sprites are. You can do the earthquake pound. And yeah, great. It hasn't aged that well in terms of gameplay, and I don't want to say that too loudly because I know a lot of people will get annoyed at that fact, but yeah, gameplay-wise, it just felt like mashing the pad hideous. And we were unable to beat it, sadly. But I mean, I was much more of a fan of the WWF Superstars game for the Game Boy than I was WrestleFest. But I mean, it's fun for a few minutes, WrestleFest game, don't get me wrong, but there's no way I could beat it.
Now, how do you go about selecting the different clips for your videos? I mean, are there other people who help you out and send you suggestions, or do you just scour about on your own, picking things out?
It's a mixture of the both. So I'll watch Raw every week. I'll sometimes watch Impact. Everything else, if people want to send me clips of that, I will. But regards to indie stuff, regards to stuff happens on SmackDown, for example, any stuff in Japan or Mexico, people usually send it to me, which I'm fine about. Because like I said, I'm only one person doing all the stuff. If it was a team of people, Mr. SmackDown, Mr. PWG, be great, make my life a lot easier. But in the nicest possible way, it's nice to be able to rely upon just yourself. Like everything else that people give you as a bonus. Because basically group projects suck.
Now, I read an interview you did a few years back. You talked about first being exposed to guys like Macho Man and Repo Man, by looking through some old WWF magazines. And you kind of had to fill in the gaps on your own as far as what each guy was all about, because you weren't into wrestling before that. Do you think Do you think wrestling's lost something over the years in that we don't have those same kind of characters we did back then? I mean, a lot of guys use their real name now. It's kind of dull. We don't have cool names anymore like Bam Bam or the Warlord. Do you think that's missing in wrestling now? Do we need another Warlord? Is that what we need?
Jason, again, I'll start because you said you checked out an interview myself. This is definitely one of the best interviews I've ever done with someone on a podcast, which doesn't say anything about the quality of other people, but is a compliment to yourself, Jason.
Thank you.
And I definitely agree. It's the characters that are part and parcel of what makes wrestling entertainment for me to watch. So right now, when I'm watching Raw, and to be honest with you, the storytelling is absolutely bloody awful. There's no more backstage segments where the people interacting with other people anymore. The only time you see someone backstage is if there's a Jax Mattel product to shill, or Subway needs a sponsor. And most of the dialogue, the people, it's really at the soap/porn level standards, and it's 90% exposition. Oh yeah, I heard you want to fight me next Sunday at the Royal Rumble, March 6th, live on pay-per-view, only $34.99. Is that right? Yes, it is. I will definitely wrestle you at the singles match at the pay-per-view on Sunday. And you're like, oh, God. And so as back in the day, you had, even as early as 2005, you had characters like Snitsky, you had Heidenreich, and they were characters who were basically too ridiculous for any other medium, which is why I like wrestling, because you get people like Bam Bam Bigelow, Mabel, Repo Man, that basically living cartoon characters that can't appear, well, maybe could appear in video games, but they certainly can't appear in film, they can't appear in TV shows. The Repo Man Diaries, Cooking with Viscera. It's just, wrestling has these characters that exclusive only to wrestlers. Only in wrestling when you get a man with a long beard kicking a baby into an audience saying it was not my fault, for example. I definitely think you're right. Nowadays, in terms of over-the-top characters like that, it's very forced. It's Brodus Clay comes out, but there's no end game to it. There's never any, Brodus Clay's out dancing, but then a wrestler comes out and goes, I'm a better dancer than you. And like, all right, let's feud. It's sort of just, I'm Brodus Clay and I'm going to dance, and it'll leave. Like right now on TV, they've got Bad News Barrett appearing in segments, but he doesn't do anything other than his shtick.
Right.
It doesn't lead into a feud. It's like Bad News Barrett backstage kicks the Goldust and Cody Rhodes playset. Oh, cool, this results in the Goldust Cody Rhodes Bad News Barrett feud, right? No, they immediately go to the next segment and carry on as if nothing happened. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's funny. You watch TV and this guy comes out every week and he's saying, I've got some bad news for you. And you expect at some point he's going to say that and punch somebody in the face, but that doesn't happen.
Exactly. It's like they've got... It used to be when I've seen some interviews, they'd reverse book. Like, go, all right, we want this guy to fight this guy at this date in 6 months now. How are we going to get to that point? Nowadays, they're definitely just booking from the first date and they don't know have any end game for it. So Bad News Barrett, they're like, wow, what a great character. Like, yeah, we have no plans for him. He's not going to wrestle. He's just this is it. This is it. This is the end. We've got the first chapter down. The middle and the end chapter, I don't know, can job to Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. He was in 4 or 5 different segments and didn't even show up on Raw the next night. Exactly.
It's like, oh, okay. So when they always emphasize that they're telling stories and so on and so forth, their stories suck now because their characters suck. Which why there's a lot of hate online for John Cena, for example. It's not to do with his wrestling ability because he can have a lot of crap matches, but then he does always stick it up. Even the matches of Orton he's had lately over the years have been good. There's always the matches he's had with Lesnar, Umaga, Lashley, and Carly, and so on and so forth. But his character is staler than 2-week-old bread. Which has always been the thing that's always got me because he's just the dullest, boringest, that's not a word, character on TV in any form of medium, which is the complete opposite I want to watch wrestling for.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like him and it's like, if I met him in real life, I'm sure he's a cool guy, but like if I met him in real life, after 3 minutes, I would have nothing to talk to him about because I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he likes. I don't know what he's into. He's just there. He's like a machine, and you can't really relate to a guy like that.
That's it. I mean, when Stan Lee was always making the superheroes, always making sure they have a weakness because then their characters, they've got, I can empathize with that guy. Peter Parker, he's a nerd. Oh no, he's got an old woman that he has to keep hungry or she dies or whatever. And all the other superheroes have got their weaknesses. John Cena has no weakness, so he's boring as fuck. It's like the worst Bond films are the ones where the villain has absolutely no chance against Bond. Like Quantum of Solace, worst villain. It was some French guy in a shirt. That's pretty much what it is. So you're like, you're not going, wow, I wonder how John Cena's going to pin this guy. You're going, oh, I wonder when John Cena's going to pin this guy.
You know, in the Bond films, I was always partial to the guy in the. I don't know if you ever saw The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes.
The villain with the third nipple in that movie.
Yeah, Salamander.
Salamander. There you go.
Yeah, and you're right there because the rest of the film is utter gash. But Christopher Lee's Salamander is one of the best villains they ever did because he's just there like, hello, Bond, I'm really lonely, I need a friend, but I don't know how to act like a friend, so I'm going to shoot your wine glass and stuff, and Bond's completely unimpressed. And you're right, because of that character, it's like, wow, this character's great. The rest of the film's absolutely horrendous, but this character's great. And it's like, I'm the best assassin in the world. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, Bond's got to really try to beat this guy. He's going to outsmart him and so on and so forth. Yeah. Whereas now, storytelling in regards to even with characters like Sheamus and Cena and all the other baby faces, the storylines last year all seem to be, oh no, wrestler X has hurt Sheamus' arm. How is he going to be able to do his move? It's like, uses his legs instead. Right. Oh, well, what a great plot that was. Wow. And so we carry on. Just that was the plot. Like the babyface is just inherently stronger than the heel. That's the storyline.
Right. Now, based on your website, your Twitter, obviously you still follow things pretty closely. I know you're watching WWE every week. What about TNA? I know TNA clips are all over your videos. Do you follow that as closely?
I went for a period where I did. Now I don't because basically the TNA clips come off YouTube almost instantly. Impact will. The one night only pay-per-views will. The pay-per-views won't. Make of that what you will. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's not supposed to make sense. But in terms of TNA, there's a lot of naysaying on the wrestling community for TNA, which I don't agree with because the last 2 years of TNA have been TNA's best in years.
I agree.
But it really annoys me when there's just no attempts whatsoever to be positive with something. If you go in with the intention of not enjoying a product like TNA, you won't enjoy it. You know, you'll make yourself not enjoy it. But if you go with the open mind, you can go, oh, wow, all right, AJ Styles may have left. Other people on the show may have left. Samoa Joe's haircut still sucks. Good. There's stuff like Spud, Steven Zayon, Brutus Magnus, American Werewolves have just... That's not their name. American Werewolves.
That actually would be a cool name. I'd rather go with that name.
I like that. David Richards and Eddie Edwards. That's easier. Their MVP's just debuted. There's a lot to love on the show. There really is. Bully Ray's one of the best wrestlers in the world at the minute. But all you hear about people is going, TNA. And it seems really bad. It's like, it's easy to be cynical and... not want to like something, it's easy to do that. It's much harder to initiate your brain and give something a chance by going, all right, well, I like this, like that. And so I disregard a lot of stuff with regards to TNA because, like I said, last year was great for them, but all I heard online was, TNA's so bad, lol, lol, lol. I'm like, oh, come on. You're not a wrestling fan at this point, are you? You're just doing it just to be cool because everyone's saying that. Yeah. Because TNA doesn't do flat-out awful episodes like it used to. There's always at least, oh, that was good, or this guy was good, or this guy did a good interview, or something. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, if anything, I mean, maybe the over-reliance on Dixie Carter on television would be maybe the biggest mistake that they can make. But, I mean, for years, I didn't even bother to review Impact on my show because it was just so freaking terrible. And they were stuffing so many things into a 2-hour block. I couldn't even remember half the things that happened when the show was over. But I would say right around the time that Hogan's daughter actually debuted. Not that it had anything to do with her, but that's when I started getting back into it full time, and I've been watching it ever since. So to your point before, compared to the way it was, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, it's night and day.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, I already started watching it full time during the Bobby Roode James Storm feud. And pointing and going, look, this is storytelling. This is great storytelling. This is way better than anything WWE's done this year or the last 3 years. And no one was paying attention. So I was saying, like, what was it? I remember they were doing the Bound for Glory tournament series that Bobby Roode ended up winning, but then he lost to Kurt Angle in the finals. But then James Storm wrestled Kurt Angle the next week and won the title. So then Bobby Roode freaked out, smashed a glass bottle over James Storm's head, which isn't too inconceivable, and then pinned James Storm and won the title. And so went on that thing where like basically kept on cheating because it meant every time he cheated he kept the title. But it's like, wow, great. So it was a justified heel, we've had a turn. Well, 2 new headliners here. Well, great matches from the pair of them, and it kept on going on and on like that. And I said the only way it could have been any better is if eventually James Storm relented and turned heel as well, and they joined heel as some sort of evil beer money, and basically proving their point, like, yeah, being heel's great because you get to defend titles, you know, because he's being good and not won the title. That didn't happen, and instead wrestled each other like every week instead, which is all right. But yeah, it's like that to me, that's good storytelling, and WWE is very, very validated.
Now, you've got a decent number of indie botches in your videos, which I think are some of the funniest ones in there. Do you ever have any indie wrestlers who actually send you clips of their fuck-ups to include in your videos? Like someone's like
all the
wear
time.
it as like a badge of honor, they wear it?
Yeah, I went to a CCW show, the last one they had at the arena a few years ago, and I had a chance to actually speak to some of the guys. I'm like, oh my god, CCW, and they were like, yay, this guy, wow, he's white. And they said, and I said, wow, I'm really surprised at the amount of indie guys who were like, oh my god, the Botchamania dude. And he said, it was Chrissy Rivera, the valet manager, who's only like fucking 4'9", no, really. And she said, well, Maffew, you have to look at these people, what wrestlers are, what they're doing. You know, they're hurting themselves in an arena, getting booed for the privilege of it. You know, you have to be of a certain disposition to want to get into wrestling in the first place. So, of course, these fuckers are going to love your videos. I was like, oh, right, yeah, that makes sense. And, yeah, to some people, there's a badge of honor. You know, people like Pinky Sanchez and Monster Mac have always been sending me clips and saying, oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I love this shit. Yeah, woo, we'll send you intros and whatever. I'm like, wow. I never thought, I thought there'd be some people who would get it and be very grateful, but I never went into it thinking, oh, yeah, of course, all the indie guys are going to love my stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I wanted to do, what's his name, Niles Young.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my god, me and my friend were like, oh my god, Niles Young. Like, he wasn't even booked, he was just there at the show. I was like, oh my god, Niles Young from 2007. He's like, oh, hi guys, yeah. Didn't know who we were, and then after the show, he saw us and ran towards us. I'm like, oh god, like, what's this about? Do we owe him money? And he went, oh, I didn't realise you guys are the Botchamania guys. Oh, and it was like hugs and kisses like an Italian wedding. So that was great. Yeah, indie guys love, and they always tweet about it as well. Andrew Everett, the Chiva Kid 2, tweeted and says, oh, I can't wait for Maffew to feature me fluffing on a dropkick. And so did Lucky 13 of CCW, much the same way. So yeah, it's weird, they follow me. And the weirdest thing, I remember now, after I got attacked by a dog, I was like, right, I'm just going to watch a bunch of indie shows on Twitter and just tweet about them. And when I was doing about it, Chris Hero, Kevin Steen, and, what's his name? Cannon, bollocks, what's his name? Eric Cannon, that's it. All tweeted me saying, oh yeah, I was at that show. Oh yeah, I did that. Like, I tweeted about Eric Cannon and said, does he get his wrestling gear from Chris Hamrick? And he went, yes. It's like, all right, thank you for replying. It's like that scene in The Simpsons where Bart tries to prank Mose, but because there's so many people, he's like, I want a huge ass. And a huge ass, I am huge ass. How can I help you? That's what it feels like.
Hey, you know, and for a lot of them, it's probably, they're never going to get to WrestleMania, so Botchamania is the next best thing.
Yeah, I'm going to use that line next time.
There you go.
Here's
your new marketing slogan right there.
Coming out of Jason, aim for WrestleMania, in brackets. You might as well, you may hit Botchamania.
That's right. Now, I know you're over in the UK. We'll wrap up with this. I saw you were checking out the WWE Network, even though it wasn't supposed to be available to international users. From what you've seen so far, what do you think of it? It's
a great idea, and I can't wait for it to be officially on over here. They did the region block soon after I tweeted about it, so sorry about that. But yeah, I love the idea of it, because I have friends over a lot, and there's always a thing that's like, oh, remember that memory, or we heard about that thing we want to watch, like Netflix. So a wrestling version of that would be great, and as soon as they get it working over here, we'll definitely be using it. It's a shame we'll have to wait until next year, I think, for it to be properly over here.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some ways of using proxies or things I would absolutely have no idea about whatsoever about getting sold out over here. It'd be fantastic.
Now, what do you think of the idea of them doing a Botchamania-type show on the network? They pretty much already had something like that on their YouTube channel. I forgot what it was called. It was like Josh Matthews and Road Dogg.
Yeah, are you serious?
Yeah.
It's a shame, really, because it was such a wasted opportunity, because this is a company who has rights to all those copyrighted footage. They're the guys who have ownership of it. Like, wow, great, them doing a version of this would be awesome. But all the footage they ever used were like the most brutally edited, like, first 3 seconds of something they had, rather than having it full-blown. For some reason, they're obsessed with having the show only being 5 minutes long. It's like being on YouTube, and it's like 15 minutes long. You're like, wait a minute, I'm featuring more seconds of the footage that you're featuring, and my crappy third generation VHS rips. The other guys are, from the archives, DVD quality stuff, and you're not including any of it. I didn't understand that in the slightest. So it's just like, this is funny if you remember it. I was like, well, that's not really the point, is it, Road Dogg? If I don't remember it, you should show me the clip showing me what it is. It's just like 2 seconds of something.
Right.
So there was a huge waste of opportunity, but an idea of having a proper version of that would be fantastic. Just bad week or bad month. Just full matches, not like cut or anything. Full matches of, the uncensored Doomsday cage match with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus 12 guys. Just those full-blown things of that, unedited, would be great. But if they're going to just already butcher them, like even worse than me, and have no DuckTales music, then no, I can't support that idea whatsoever.
Well, it's funny, actually, I mentioned that because in between the different programs on the network, I noticed they have a feature. I don't know if it's a permanent thing or what, but they're kind of featuring, like they had the Shockmaster tripping over himself. They had the Buddy Rose blowaway die. So they're already kind of doing stuff like that on there. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does need, like if I was king of DVDs or WWE or whatever, or network man, I would have some guy, be it Road Dogg or just Maffew, like explaining the significance of these things in a bit more detail. Because right now it is basically depending on you being a wrestling fan to know all this stuff. And granted, 90% of the people I imagine getting it will know about stuff like Shockmaster or Buddy Rose or whatever, or Mae Young giving birth to a hand. But there's going to be a lot of people, because this stuff goes back a long way, who won't have a clue of most of these things. So I definitely need to like context-mania going, right, what this is, what this happens, why this is significant. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, I don't understand. This is just like a surreal bunch of Family Guy jokes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Even if they follow some kind of like, they used to have this thing on VH1 pop-up video, have like a pop-up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, pop-up video, that was a good idea.
That's an old reference right there. I'm dating myself with that one.
But I liked it, Jason.
You can follow Maffew on Twitter at Maffew Gregg. That's with 2 G's at the end. And the website is Botchamania.com. Is there anything else you're involved with or working on right now that you want to promote here?
Well, we will have the Wrestling with Pixels book coming out in November. That's me, Audie, and a whole bunch of other staff. That I'm not going to name because I'm ill and can't remember them all. That's going to be hopefully very good. We're going to have lots of interviews with people like Mr. Kevin Nash, Mr. AJ Styles, Mr. Quackenbush, talking to lots of video game developers. That I'm basically very excited about because there's a lot of crossover between wrestling fans and video games, and some of the best games happen to have be wrestling games like No Mercy, WCW NWO Revenge, Virtual Pro, Ultimate Muscle, and so on and so forth. So that'll hopefully be good. Until then, other projects. No, keep on watching the website because there's no sense me giving a YouTube link because they'll just be taken down. Or be put on Dailymotion, which is a suck-ass website, but it does mean the videos still stay offline.
Maffew, thanks a lot for the time. I appreciate it. Don't ever stop making those videos.
Thank you very much, Jason. You're a fabulous interviewer. I wish you all the success. You're much better than 90% of the people. Thank you to the people I did yesterday. Screw you, Jason, forever.
The check is in the mail. Watch for it.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it bounces, so do you.
Take care. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.